All right, welcome to the 2018 Gold Derby Film Awards nomination announcement. We love doing these every year. We do them for film and television, and they're not voted on by us, the editors of the staff. They are voted on by, in this particular case, over 2,200 people around the world chose nominees in 22 categories. And we're here to help us announce today our executive editor, Paul Sheehan, our senior editors, Marcus Dixon, Joyce Ng, and Daniel Montgomery. And as soon as we finish this announcement, we will activate the event and you can start voting for winners. So Marcus is going to kick us off with the first three categories.
All right. So first off, we have Best Foreign Language Film. And the Gold Derby Award nominees are BPM, Beats Per Minute, A Fantastic Woman, First They Killed My Father, In the Fade, and The Square. And two of those match up with the Oscars, A Fantastic Woman and The Square, and the other three are strictly Gold Derby nominees. So congrats to those three. Okay, so next we have Best Documentary. The nominees are City of Ghosts, Faces, Places, Icarus, An Inconvenient Sequel, and Jane. And once again, just two of those match up, and those are Faces, Places, and Icarus with the Oscars. And then Best Animated Feature. The nominees are The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, the Lego Batman Movie, and Loving Vincent. And four of those match up with the Oscars. The one that we have is Lego Batman Movie. The Oscars just hate those Lego movies. I don't understand it.
Although perhaps surprisingly, Boss Baby did come close. It was in sixth place within striking distance of this five. So it seems odd to me that film has been getting in so many places. But
what do you have against babies, Daniel?
He doesn't like babies winning Oscars.
Babies winning Oscars when they talk and are weird.
When it's Alec Baldwin.
So not only are, the fans vote on these awards, but IMDb thinks enough of them to list them in credits. When you look at anyone on IMDb and you look at their awards history, you'll see their Gold Derby Award nominations and wins. So
I'm very careful about listing, names of ensemble cast members and sound designers and mixers and all that sort of stuff. So, if anybody sees anyone you think is missing, let me know. I will, add them to their appropriate categories. I did my best.
And when we're out, not every single day, but all throughout the year, different people will say, thank you for my Gold Derby Award win, last summer for TV or in February for movies. They know and remember these, and we do send out certificates on the winners the day of that announcement, which will be right around March 1st.
So then to what Daniel was saying, I'm going to read out the nominees for Best Visual Effects, but like the Academy, I'm just going to read out the films, but we will acknowledge each individual nominee when they do, if whoever wins. So the nominees for Best Visual Effects are Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Then we only have one sound category. Best sound is Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, The Shape of Water, and Star Wars The Last Jedi. And then best production design nominees are Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner 2049, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, and The Shape of Water.
And on the sound, we do list the mixers and the editors. We're not dissing either group. But I don't even know why the Academy has two different ones when you have a year like this, and it happens quite often where 5 for 5 match on editing and mixing. I don't know that most voters.
No, Chris, it doesn't happen that often that the 5 for 5.
But the winners sometimes match, and I just wonder why they don't just say best sound and give it to both the editors and the mixers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's interesting this year. This year it's a 5 for 5 match with sound mixing and editing at the Oscars, and those 5 are our sound nominees.
Doesn't BAFTA combine them?
Yeah, they only have one.
Yeah. The closest, interesting for Best Sound wasn't close in terms of between 5th and 6th, but Mother did, come in 6th place. And I remember that was one of the first candidates when we launched Prediction Center that someone asked me to add. So I'm glad to see that, so when you ask for, a nominee added, even if they're not necessarily a front runner, they do get a lot of support a lot of times.
Candidate, not a nominee.
Yeah, candidate, yeah.
In the long list of 40 or 50. Okay, any other details there, Daniel, on any of those 3 categories?
Visual effects wasn't really close. Those 5 were pretty strong out front throughout. And yeah, I don't think production design was that close either.
Okay. Well, I've got the next 2, and we'll start with Best Song. And then 5 nominees are Evermore from Beauty and the Beast, The Mystery of Love from Call Me By Your Name, Remember Me from Coco, This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, and Visions of Gideon from Call Me By Your Name. And that last one, and then the first one I said from Beauty and the Beast, are not Oscar nominees this year. And for Best Score, we've got Blade Runner 2049, Coco, Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, and The Shape of Water.
Yeah, we had in 6th place for Best Song, we had Mighty River, which did get it at the Oscars, but that was a ways behind these 5. And actually in 7th place, we had poor Taylor Swift, I Don't Want to Live Forever. She was in 7th place in our Best Song
many
nominations.
things Taylor Swift is. Poor is not one of them.
And Best Score just missing were a couple of Oscar nominees. Star Wars Last Jedi and 3 Billboards were 6th and 7th. Good Time was actually also in the mix there too for its score. Which brings us to 2 categories I will announce. Best Makeup and Hair and Best Costume Design, starting with Best Makeup and Hair. And we nominate 5 films in this category, as the Oscars should. I don't think any of us understand why they still only have 3 nominees in this category. But we unlike the Oscars, respect makeup and hair designers. Our nominees are Beauty and the Beast, Darkest Hour, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I, Tonya, and The Shape of Water. And then the nominees for Best Costume Design are Beauty and the Beast again, Blade Runner 2049, I, Tonya, Phantom Thread, and The Shape of Water.
Anything interesting on those 2?
Costume design, it wasn't that close, but we did have The Beguiled and Wonder Woman and Greatest Showman in the mix there in our top 10. And makeup was, interesting as well. We had It just missed, the horror movie, and Wonder, which got an Oscar nomination, was also one of the major contenders. Blade Runner also got a lot of support too.
Well, I have the next 2 for Best Film Editing. We have Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, Get Out, and The Shape of Water. And we are matching 4 out of 5 with the Oscars. They have I, Tonya over Get Out. And next, we have Best Cinematography, Blade Runner 2049, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, Mudbound, and The Shape of Water. And again, it's 4 for 5 of the Oscars, with Call Me By Your Name replacing Darkest Hour. We did not really like Darkest Hour here.
Not so far.
Yeah. Film editing was interesting. Actually, I, Tonya wasn't that far off. It was in 7th place in our voting. Call Me By Your Name actually just missed for Best Editing. Lady Bird actually ranked higher than 3 Billboards, which was another editing nominee at the Oscars that we didn't nominate in that particular race. Cinematography it seemed like it was pretty much those Oscar contenders, except with that exception of Call Me By Your Name. Although perhaps surprisingly, the closest contender is actually just 10 points out. The Florida Project for cinematography. Phantom Thread also got a lot of support there.
Well, next up is Best Breakthrough Performer. This is one that the Oscars obviously don't have, but we love this one. And I guarantee these 5 names, I had no idea who any of these people were a year ago, and now they're some of the biggest people in the world. So the nominees are Timothée Chalamet, Gal Gadot, Tiffany Haddish, Daniel Kaluuya, and Brooklyn Prince.
And we don't attach any films to that category. It could be for any work they had during 2017.
Including Justice League.
Maybe she doesn't want people thinking about that.
Yeah, don't prejudice people against Gal Gadot.
And next is Best Ensemble Cast, and I guess this is kind of like our SAG Ensemble Cast category here. The nominees are Call Me By Your Name, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And, comparing to the SAG Ensemble, we nominated Call Me By Your Name and we nominated Shape of Water, and those did not get SAG Ensemble nominations.
Yes, and when I compile lists of cast members, I'm much more inclusive than the SAG Awards are. I don't go as far as everyone with a speaking role, but I try and be comprehensive there. And it's interesting how not close this was between 5th and 6th. There's about 300 points before you get to 6th place, The Post, which the cast of that film. So sorry, Marcus.
I should have voted 600 more times.
And the 2 disappointments for me that I was rooting for, I think I voted for both of them, Dunkirk and Mudbound, both in our top 10. But they weren't really close.
So Harry Styles doesn't have a Gold Derby nomination yet.
Mm-hmm.
No, but Timothée Chalamet has 3 so far.
What about Breakthrough? Do you know who was 6th?
Oh, Breakthroughs were, let me call that up.
And by the way, doesn't everyone wish the Academy would do this? Wouldn't that? They would really get people tuning in to the nominations announcement if they said, "Ooh, Stephen, you were so close."
Yeah. There was about 100 points for a Breakthrough between 5th and 6th, and then you actually had Barry Cogan from who was in both Dunkirk and Killing of a Sacred Deer. He was in 6th place. Bill Skarsgård also got a lot of support. Hong Chow, Tom Holland, actually, you'd think one of the biggest new stars of the year from Spider-Man, but he was just 9th. And Daphne Keane from Logan, she was also got quite a bit of support.
So next up are the 2 screenplay awards. We'll start with Best Adapted Screenplay, and those nominees are Blade Runner 2049, Call Me By Your Name, The Disaster Artist, Molly's Game, and Mudbound. And then among original screenplays, the nominees are The Big Sick, Get Out, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
How did Logan miss?
Logan, not by much. Logan missed by 28 points. So when the nominations voting, if someone in first place gets 3 points on a ballot, so that was really only about potentially 10 ballots away from a nomination, if it had been first place. So that was very close. But actually, past Logan in 6th place, it was a gigantic drop off before, it's like 600-point drop off to, Wonder Woman in 7th, Star Wars in 8th, All the Money in the World in 9th, Beguiled in 10th. So we had some divided support there, but it was very concentrated around the top 6, certainly. And Best Original Screenplay, it wasn't really close, but we did have I, Tonya in 6th and Dunkirk actually in 7th, which made me happy because I think that screenplay is really underrated.
I'm very curious to see what's going to win Original Screenplay with us at our awards.
Yes, that's the little trick, isn't it? That sometimes these awards, Chris, and I know certainly on the TV side, they can be a real indication of people's strengths, can't they?
Especially related to expectations. I remember last summer, if certain people have big support on our site just in general, in forums, threads, and articles, and among the public, like in June, you could not have convinced me anybody but Jessica Lange last summer was going to win the Emmy. They love her at the Emmys, and she's playing Joan Crawford, but when I started seeing vote counts come in off the nominations, and Nicole Kidman was double and triple Jessica Lange, it's just an example, but just I thought, wow, if Jessica Lange can't do well with Gold Derby voters, I don't know that she's going to win the Emmy. That's kind of the thing that Paul's talking about, where we can look and see. So I'm fascinated to see how the original screenplay is going to go here with our voters, as well as at the Writers Guild coming up, because that's one of the hardest categories to predict this year. Well, I've got the 2 supporting categories next. We'll start with supporting actor. We have Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Armie Hammer for Call Me by Your Name, Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards, Patrick Stewart for Logan, and Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me by Your Name. So we only matched 2 out of the 5 there with Dafoe and Rockwell. And then supporting actress, Tiffany Haddish, Girls Trip, Holly Hunter, The Big Sick, Allison Janney, I, Tonya, Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer for The Shape of Water. And that's just a three of those match.
Wow. So of those 10 supportings, we matched 5 of the 10. Right?
Half of them, 5 out of the 10.
Crazy.
And these were both the closest margins in terms of nomination to not a nomination. Supporting actor, Richard Jenkins, who was nominated for an Oscar, he missed a nomination by literally 2 points. That is potentially 1 ballot away from a nomination here. We also had, Christopher Plummer got a lot of support. Again, Barry Cogan was in our top 10, Killing of a Sacred Deer. So he had a lot of support, though it wasn't quite enough to break through. And then Mary J. Blige missed Best Supporting Actress by 8 points. And that was actually really close. Hong Chow was really close. Leslie Manville was really close. Even Allison Williams from Get Out was pretty close. So that was really, really tight for those last slots, although I won't say who those people who were in 5th or 4th place were, so as not to influence the voting in the next round. And that brings us to the 2 lead categories, Best Actor and Best Actress. Start with the nominees for Best Actor. They are Timothée Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name, Daniel Day-Lewis, Phantom Thread, James Franco, The Disaster Artist, Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out, and Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. So we match 4 out of 5 on the Oscars there. James Franco did not miss out on a nomination with us like he did at the Oscars, where he was replaced by Denzel Washington. Then for Best Actress, the nominees are Sally Hawkins, The Shape of Water, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Margot Robbie, I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird, and Meryl Streep, The Post. And
how close was Denzel?
Oh, Denzel was not, I don't think. He actually, it was actually a really steep drop off between 5th place and 6th place. 6th place would have needed more than double the amount of votes to get into 5th place. But actually, that 6th place contender was Robert Pattinson from Good Time. And then James McAvoy in Split also had good support. Hugh Jackman in Logan. Jake Gyllenhaal in Stronger. You actually have to go a ways before you find Denzel, who was in 21st place for
Real.
Tom Hanks was in 11th. Actually, Andy Serkis rounded out our top 10 for War for the Planet of the Apes. So yeah, I'm always like sometimes 6 through 10 is just as interesting or more interesting than 1 through 5. So I'm always happy to report a lot of these results just so people know that, even if it lines up a lot with the Oscars, a lot of interesting people were really close, and you're not alone in supporting some of these contenders who you might not have thought would have gotten
it can pay to be strategic on our awards, because if you're 100% convinced Gary Oldman is going to get in, but that was your favorite performance, you might put him in 3rd, let's say, to give him a point, but you can give somebody like, try to pick somebody like Denzel or or Hugh Jackman or whoever it is, you might want to give them the 3 points just to try to boost them a little bit. But we've seen that here and elsewhere, Oscars, Emmys, and so forth. I mean, if enough people, like Amy Adams last year in Arrival, if enough people think, oh, she doesn't need my support, she's going to get in anyway, then that suddenly you've got a huge snub.
Yeah, and it's Best Actress. So we went 5 for 5 in terms of the Oscar nominees, but we almost didn't. For much of the voting, Jennifer Lawrence, if her mother, was in our top 5, but over time, another contender kind of just started gaining and resulted in the top 5 that looks just like the Oscars. And we also had Jessica Chastain in our top 10, Gal Gadot for Wonder Woman, actually Daniela Vega for A Fantastic Woman was in our top 10, and Brooklyn Prince for The Florida Project, who is a nominee for Best Breakthrough Performer. She was in our top 10 vote getters for Best Actress.
Well, now we have our final 2 categories for Best Director. Guillermo del Toro, The Shape of Water, Greta Gerwig, Lady Bird, Luca Guadagnino, Call Me By Your Name, Christopher Nolan, Dunkirk, and Jordan Peele, Get Out. So we have Luca instead of Paul Thomas Anderson, who got in at the Oscars. And we also are missing Martin McDonagh, who obviously got snubbed at the Oscars as well.
That's so interesting.
Luca getting in?
No,
we have a lot of Call Me By Your Name.
That we snubbed Martin just like the Oscars did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a lot of 3 billboards outside of the acting stuff either. But
well, we'll have Daniel run down the nomination totals after you do the big category, Joyce.
Well, Best Picture, we have, unlike the Oscars, we have 10 nominees. And they are Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Call Me By Your Name, Dunkirk, The Florida Project, Get Out, I, Tonya, Lady Bird, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, and it's
we decided a few years ago to go with 10. Just we don't like the sliding scale. Just let's 10 and that's it.
Yeah, Best Director was a 6-person race to get those 5 slots, and actually the 6th person who was the closest was Denis Villeneuve for Blade Runner.
Wow.
Who missed by a significant number of points, but he was right in the mix. Actually, in 7th place was Martin McDonagh, and he had about half the votes that Villeneuve had in 6th place. And we also had Sean Baker in our top 10, and Paul Thomas Anderson, who got the Oscar nomination, and actually Edgar Wright for Baby Driver in our top 10. And Best Picture, those last slots were really close. You know, it was Phantom Thread was 13 points out of a nomination. Logan wasn't far behind that. Big Sick wasn't far behind that. And I'm sorry, Marcus, The Post in 14th.
I'm done. I'm done with it.
So yeah, The Post just got Meryl in, and
you didn't even realize it was missing from Ensemble.
No.
So Daniel, tell us who we have a sense that having read through all the nominees. So who was sort of, how did people perform? How did films perform, I should say?
Well, we had The Shape of Water, not that surprising given that it's been the #1 nominee everywhere else. It has the 14 nominations, which is the top nominated film at these Gold Derby Awards. It's followed by Call Me By Your Name, which has 11. You know, I feel like maybe our viewers who, once they saw it get into production design, they could sense that, oh, okay, this movie's getting everywhere. And it pretty much did. And then we had Blade Runner with 9 nominations next, Dunkirk with 8 nominations, just like at the Oscars. Then Get Out and Lady Bird had 6, and I, Tonya and 3 Billboards had 5 apiece. And you know, and then Beauty and the Beast is tied with Timothée Chalamet as an individual with 4 nominations.
I wonder if our readers or fans saw how Calling by Your Name, you know, kind of underperformed at the Oscars. So I wonder if that helped them go, oh, well, I'm going to put it in as many categories as I can at the Gold Derby Awards.
Well, one thing we do, I think we've done this every year, is our nominations obviously are over a week later after the Oscar nominations. I think that does put a little drive in some people to, you know, get revenge for, you know, not getting into the Oscars. But also we do it because, unlike journalists, unlike, you know, Oscar voters and everybody within the industry, our people just can't see some of these movies until January, mid-January, late January. So we like to give them as much time as possible to see as many as possible.
I wish the SAG Awards did that. I wish the Critics' Choice and the Golden Globes did that. Like, if you're voting on a whole year of eligibility, you should at least wait until January 1st to announce your nominations.
Well, we will, within 3-4 minutes, we'll launch the Prediction Center event. If you have not been in there before, or if it's been a long time since the last event, which it has, I've got to remind you, no more ranking. You don't get to rank. You don't get to feel good about yourself beyond number 1. So it's going to be really difficult to take a category where you've got 2 or 3 favorites. You're only going to get one choice. So think about it. You can make your selections now. You've got all the way till February, I think it's 25th, whatever that last Sunday in February is. So make your selections now. You can always come back in and change them later. Maybe you see a movie later on, or just change your mind. Daniel's full article, if you missed any of the nominations, will be up in a couple of minutes. And thanks, everybody. This is one of the most fun things we do all year.